So I'll start off by saying I'm not the most knowledgeable person when it comes to anime. In fact, I'd say most of my expertise is very niche. I watch a lot of mainstream, and I'll make the occasional reference to one that you don't need to be some kind of elite connoisseur to understand. Now, Fist of the North Star is a beloved classic. It helped inspire some of the most recognizable IPs in anime ever. While not as mainstream as its successors, without its influence, a lot of animes many of y'all probably watch wouldn't exist. Most notable examples being Dragon Ball Z and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. So, understandably, fans were pretty hyped when it was announced Fist of the North Star would be getting a modern adaptation in an era where so much high quality animation is being done and the anime industry has never been better. This should have been a slam dunk. But man, those expectations were quickly subverted when this abomination of a trailer got served.
お前はもう死んでいる。
Holy sh**. That is the ugliest looking CG you could possibly use. Downright disrespectful, actually, that they would give Fist of the North Star this kind of treatment. F***ing porn parodies put more effort into their animation than this atrocity. You don't even have to try to make something look this bad. They clearly went with the cheapest option they had. It looks worse than the 2016 Berserk adaptation. They don't even have backgrounds in half the shots. It's like they took notes from the infamous Escanor versus Meliodas fight and decided they want this entire anime to be nothing but 7 deadly frames.
Super Slash!
I mean it when I say there's not a single person on the planet who didn't cringe while watching this. It's so ugly! This wasn't very exciting for most fans of Fist of the North Star. And I imagine it won't do anything to help captivate a new audience. Again, it looks significantly worse than most modern anime, including its successors. Just imagine if they chose this style for the upcoming JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Steel Ball Run. Fans would be so immensely furious, they'd actually contemplate committing seppuku. Who is this for? I don't know. Nobody wants to see one of their favorite properties look this bad. And I don't know anyone who enjoys this style of animation, except for the executives, who probably use it as a means to save a little bit of money. Now, I'm not saying all CG anime is bad, that'd be a disservice. I'm just saying I haven't found one that's good. The CG fight they used for Escanor versus Meliodas was so bad it fundamentally killed 7 Deadly Sins. And not only did it kill that anime, but it also killed the aforementioned 2016 Berserk adaptation.
It's so bad, even ISIS wouldn't claim responsibility for it. But don't worry, I'm going to break it down piece by piece in this in-depth analysis at why this anime is fucking garbage. We'll start this off with the key and most important point for everyone to understand. Everything is wrong.
The comparison between this and Fist of the North Star is almost identical. It's basically an asset flip. They just copy and pasted the entire anime, but added some Fist of the North Star skins. This isn't a hot take I'm just pulling out of my ass, by the way. This is objectively the worst style of animation. It's cheap. Most of the animation is just still images, and the constant blending of 2D and 3D animation is very conflicting. Now, there is a chance Fist of the North Star doesn't follow that aspect. Based on the trailers at least, it seems to be all CG animation, but it still looks bad. It's a style that's so low quality, most of the time it's used as training for animators before they go on to animate something better. It's not like these are some throwaway animes nobody's ever heard of. Berserk and Fist of the North Star are some of the most influential properties ever created. Sure, they're not as iconic as the big three, and certainly haven't reached the same level as fandom as something like Pokemon, but they definitely didn't deserve this treatment. especially with how big the anime industry has become in modern culture. You'll see projects like The Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime get a beautiful anime adaptation. Meanwhile, a property that inspired so many big titles in the same industry doesn't even receive the bottom of the barrel in terms of animation. So this was the tweet where I first learned about the Fist of the North Star remake, and I'd like to call attention to what they had to say. Anime studios, when they're adapting My Brother Turned Into an Eraser That I Shoved Up My Ass, the most beautiful 2D animation you have ever seen. Anime studios, when they're adapting one of the most legendary manga series of all time, awful 3D CGI. There's just no excuse for why Fist of the North Star got treated this way. They have all the money they could ever need to animate it into a modern art style, yet they chose something that was repulsive even back in the early 2000s. Now, I'm not an animator, so I can't speak on behalf of them, but as a consumer, someone who appreciates when a quality product receives a fitting animation, I can say with confidence, that is not the case with Fist of the North Star. It deserves more respect. Again, I'm not saying all CG animation is bad. It's not cheap to make. It's definitely cheaper than all the alternatives, but they still have to pay a pretty penny to produce it. I would say it's probably the weakest and most unappealing from a visual perspective, which an anime like Fist of the North Star should not have received. This deserved to be animated to the same level as its successors. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, for example. I know I keep name dropping that, but I really thought they would have implemented that animation style, because what is the point of making something that looks like this? You would have saved so much more money not releasing Fist of the North Star than to animate it this haphazardly. Nobody's excited for this. It doesn't draw at hype, it only angers fans of the property. Now, I may not be a fan myself, but I can easily recognize why people are upset with this, and I do have an overall appreciation for quality animation, especially in regards to anime. But that just wasn't the case for Fist of the North Star. It certainly won't bring in any new fans of the property, because I'm very confident anyone who's watched anime, or is at least familiar with the genre, recognizes that this is not the epitome of it. It's a significant downgrade to what they're used to. If you put a side-by-side comparison of two stills, one from Fist of the North Star and the other from an anime like Demon Slayer, the majority are probably going to gravitate towards Demon Slayer. Even if you don't recognize the property, it's just more visually appealing, which I would argue is one of the most important things when trying to sell an anime. In this style, Fist of the North Star has no chance at competing with a modern anime, so why even bother making it? There's just so many examples of this style failing, yet for some reason, they're not using this as an opportunity to try something different. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about this because it was a very heated discussion within the anime community. I never really got into Fist of the North Star, and knowing now this is how the anime will look, that hasn't changed. I do believe this is the worst animation style they could have chosen, and I just hope it doesn't set a precedent within the industry going forward. That's really about it. So,